It all started not with a bang, but with silence. From the silence where it has never been. In the arteries of the city and its many kilometers of catacombs of concrete and steel, we have entrusted the purity of our world to invisible workers, the Gaia 4 biocolonies, genetically bred to absorb and recycle waste. They were our greatest achievement in the field of recycling, an ideal system that works in complete darkness. Until one day, something that the system could neither digest nor reject fell into this darkness. The first signs were almost imperceptible. Minor pressure surges in the drainage system, which the dispatching algorithms attributed to an error. Then the inspection drones in the sewers started transmitting strange images. The walls of the tunnels, usually damp and dark, were covered with a thin, translucent film. It was odorless and non-toxic. She just was. And then the silence turned to pressure. Slow, inexorable, growing from within. The weakest points surrendered first. The cast iron manhole covers on the streets did not fly into the air as in a gas explosion. They were lifted off the asphalt with a viscous, almost silent effort. And from under them, not dirt poured into the sunlight, but a sterile, trembling substance. A dense, elastic gel that did not spread out in a puddle, but spilled out onto the streets in elastic, swaying domes. The second act of collapse began when the mass reached a critical volume. It filled the underground utilities, turning them into a giant hydraulic system operating on a single, paradoxical principle: endless expansion. Metro stations were the first victims. The lights on the platforms blinked and went out as the gel pushed through the airtight doors and filled the lobbies. The sound of the arriving train was replaced by a dull, wet screech as the multi-ton train was crushed like a toy in the grip of growing biomass. Then it was the turn of the energy industry. The underground transformer stations, those humming hearts of the districts, were swallowed up. Their steel doors bent outward before bursting under the inhuman pressure. Short circuits flared up in the thickness of the gel with blind, lightning discharges but quickly went out. One by one, the neighborhoods were plunged into darkness. The street lighting turned off in uneven lines as if someone was erasing the city from the map with an eraser. The architecture began to groan. The first floors of skyscrapers, their glass lobbies and marble halls, have turned into aquariums filled with this strange substance. The pressure was building. The display cases did not break, they bent, clouded with micro cracks, and one day were simply squeezed inside with a single glass lens. The concrete pillars began to crumble, and the steel beams began to bend. The city did not collapse. He was slowly being strangled. And now, months later, a new normal has arrived. Inert thirst. The streets have ceased to exist. Now these are canyons, filled up to the level of the 15th or 20th floor with a frozen but innerly quivering mass. It is translucent, and on a sunny day the rays penetrate deep, creating a ghostly amber world beneath them. Down there, cars, trees, and monuments are forever frozen, exhibits from the museum of a civilization that suddenly ended. The dominant effect is tactile and chemical. The air is heavy, humid, with a barely perceptible ozone taste, the result of the slow disintegration of trapped electrical networks. And most importantly, the vibration. A low-frequency, barely perceptible hum that comes from all this mass. This is not the sound of life. It's the sound of endless, looping replication at the cellular level. The city turned into a huge, silent, trembling organism.
At the dawn of the disaster, the city tried to resist. His autonomous systems, devoid of central control, operated according to the latest protocols. Emergency drainage pumps were roaring in the depths of the flooded substations. Their turbines were desperately trying to pump out the biomass, but it was like bailing out the ocean with a spoon. Choking on the viscous substance, their engines overheated and jammed with their last dying screech. Robotic patrols and utility drones, whose programs required maintaining order, demonstrated tragic tenacity. They moved down from the surviving roofs onto the frozen surface of the gel, perceiving it as a new Earth. Their sensors were going crazy with an unclassifiable substance. Some tried to clean it or drill it, but their manipulators just stuck in the elastic mass. Others, disoriented, just stood there until their batteries ran out, turning into small metal monuments of futility. But over time, the process of unexpected adaptation began. The environment itself began to change. The surface of the biomass, constantly exposed to ultraviolet radiation and winds, began to dehydrate and crystallize. It was covered with a hard, brittle crust, like frosted glass with a grid of deep cracks. Rainwater, which had nowhere else to drain, began to accumulate in these cracks, forming a new river system at a height of 20 floors. Shallow, winding channels with crystal-clear water flowing through an artificial landscape. And then the strangest form of adaptation appeared. The transport pods and cargo drones that serviced the skyscrapers were trapped in their rooftop charging stations. After losing contact with the central server, their AI went offline with one directive: optimizing logistics. Lacking cargo and destinations, they started using what was available. They lifted fragments of antennas, pieces of facing tiles, solar panel elements into the air and began to build. They didn't build nests or shelters. Following their own twisted logic, they created new transport hubs and transfer stations on the surface of the frozen gel. Perfectly flat areas of garbage, strange symmetrical coils of cables, meaningless but mathematically verified structures connecting the roofs of skyscrapers. It was the machine's attempt to bring order to a world it no longer understood. In the distant future, this city will become a two-level wonder of the world. Below is the Amber Mausoleum, where our era is frozen in jelly-like eternity, a world of silence, pressure, and hidden vibration. And at the top is a new ecosystem, a crystal desert of crystallized biomass cut by rivers of rainwater. Above her, autonomous cars circle in an eternal, aimless dance, building their roads from nowhere to nowhere. The city is not dead. It simply sank into a viscous, monumental sleep, and on its surface, a new, mechanical life arose, born out of a systemic paradox.